For years, we've watched the heartbreak, betrayal, and unexpected turns unfold on screen. But what if I told you that everything you believed you understood about love and hip-hop was actually revealed by Kirk Frost? The drama that had us riveted to our screens was a meticulously constructed illusion. Kirk Frost has now spoken out, and what he's revealing will forever alter your perspective on reality. Kirk adds that behind the scenes, there were scripts, covered coaching sessions, and even manufactured confrontations. Yes, you read it. They are the stories of love, betrayal, and redemption that TV producers have marketed to the U.S. for years. Ratings was supposedly the target of angry outbursts and violent altercations. But why come forward now and share these secrets after all this time? What Kirk is exposing is more than just a bombshell. It's a wake-up call. He's revealing the mechanism that made his life into a must-see drama. If you believe you already know the true tale of love and hip-hop, you'll be shocked by what Kirk Frost just revealed. As we know it, reality TV began quite quietly. In fact, viewers were still in shock over the drama of the previous season of Love and Hip Hop when Kirk Frost started giving out cryptic clues on social media in a string of ambiguous tweets. During those early days, the whole fan base was holding their breath as speculation ran wild about what Kirk was hiding, what bombshell he was about to reveal, and Instagram tales featuring Shadow's captor. Suddenly, the excitement returned. Everywhere on the internet had their own theories, but no one could have foreseen the reality that Kirk had gotten himself into a situation like this. Was it another controversy with Rashida, a new love child, or a serious feud with the castmate? Kirk claimed to have discovered something much larger than himself and was going to reveal the show's basic core. However, behind the scenes, Kirk was reportedly becoming increasingly restless according to those close to him, he began looking into old contracts, seeing videos, and speaking with people who had long since moved on from love and hip-hop. What he discovered shocked him to his core, since the Plotsy Kirk believed that love and hip-hop were more than simply a reality show with some artistic editing. They were a full-fledged phenomenon. His thoughts were natural, and he thought the emotional conversations were genuine. Since he had been a part of the system, Kirk initially attempted to keep these revelations to himself. He struggled with his own guilt, wondering if he was partially to fault for not speaking out sooner. As the pieces came together, Kirk started to view himself differently. He was no longer merely a participant in the show, who had for years played the part and let it to tell whatever story it wanted about his life. A pawn, and the manipulation was extensive. Kirk alleged that other cast members were forced into playing parts that didn't suit them, and producers fed them lines and urged them to do so. Conflicts and even started phony controversies. Kirk recalled one time a cast member sobbed during a reunion event. At the time, it felt like a genuine, unfiltered emotion, but now Kirk knew better. After learning that the whole thing had been staged, Kirk started to think that the producers had fanned the flames backstage during filming and even reshot important scenes to make them appear more dramatic. The show's designers had a much bigger goal in mind than just increasing viewership. By tightly manipulating the plot, they could make any cast member a hero or a villain, advance someone's career, or destroy it with a single edit. And for Kirk, understanding that he was no longer the monster that fans had grown to love or hate, but rather a guy enmeshed in a web of deceit, was both freeing and terrifying. Stronger than ever, Kirk made the decision to be clean about what he knew, but he wanted to do it correctly. This wasn't going to be a social media tirade or a tea revelation on a podcast. He started gathering all the information he could, including old video, leaked emails, statements from former cast members, and other sources, in order to ensure that his remarks would have the most possible impact when he finally spoke. Even covered recordings he had made while working on the project. This wasn't just about clearing his name. It was also about revealing a system that Kirk felt had taken advantage of him and many others for years. He considered himself a man standing. As Kirk learned more about the inner workings of the show, he realized the risk he was taking. But the producers weren't going to let him down. up to a powerful machine that had transformed reality TV into a carefully controlled illusion in a brief video that was uploaded to his social media accounts. Kirk hinted at an impending revelation, saying, "You've watched." This was Kirk's first significant move, immediately into the camera. "But what if I told you that it was never real? What if I told you that the reality of love and hip-hop is more sinister than you ever thought?" The video ended suddenly, leaving fans to search for answers all night. The internet was ablaze, and everyone was curious about what Kirk Frost would reveal. As fans, bloggers, and even mainstream news outlets picked up the story, the speculation reached a fever pitch. Love and hip-hop producers remained quiet, probably in the hopes that Kirk's moment of defiance would end. But Kirk wasn't backing down. In fact, he was just getting started. And this is where things took a wrong turn, according to behind-the-scenes sources. Asserted that producers had begun to panic, with some apparently contacting Kirk to ask him to reconsider his actions and others attempting to discredit him by spreading false information that Kirk was merely attempting to remain important. Kirk had the receipts and was prepared to share them with the world, but nothing worked. By this point, Kirk was totally focused on his goal and knew that speaking up could result in legal action and the end of his broadcast career. Difficulties with money and a lifetime of being banned from the industry. But Kirk didn't care anymore since he thought the truth was more important than anything else and was willing to take the chance. Once portrayed as the eternal villain of hip-hop and love, Frost was now putting himself in a position to reveal the show's darkest secrets as a whistleblower. Fans were eagerly awaiting the time when Kirk would eventually come clean, and the fallout would be more devastating than anybody could have predicted. When Kirk Frost finally began to speak up, it was like opening a Pandora's box because his early tweets and soon after, he started revealing snippets of his proof, including audio clips, emails, and even old contracts. His revelations presented a picture that was far more scandalous than fans could have ever imagined. The first bombshells he revealed concerned the notorious hotel fight from a few seasons ago. In that episode, Kirk and Rashida's tension reached a previously unheard-of peak, leading to a furious altercation in a lavish suite. Tired of picking sides and engaging in never-ending debates on social media, but Kirk has now disclosed that the entire incident was meticulously planned, with producers having spent hours guiding both Kirk and Rashida as they what to say is that the entire scene was staged. The alleged hotel suite was actually a set designed to resemble one, and the dispute, which appeared so heartfelt and unfiltered, was practiced several times prior to before the show began. Kirk also said that some of the cast members weren't even friends or rivals. He said that the producers purposefully grouped people together and gave them lines to give the impression that they were close. The show became a personal fight as cast members who had never met before were forced to pretend to have decades of history filled with alliances, betrayals, and resentments. Every moment in the meticulously crafted drama machine was crafted to provoke the greatest amount of fury, but Kirk asserted that the financial drama's arguments over money were not the only ones that were staged. He submitted documents that purportedly demonstrated that some of the material presented on the show was either contrived or highly edited. He also claimed that claims of unpaid child support and secret bank accounts were faked. Producers frequently gave the actors talking points to use when they faced each other over money, and Kirk claimed that bank statements that flashed on screen during episodes were manipulated to make the numbers more shocking. Social media was ablaze with hashtags like #KirkFrostExposed and #Love, and hip-hop savvy viewers started rewatching previous episodes and closely examining each dispute just before the shoot. Every heartfelt admission and every emotional exit felt suspiciously staged, and memes went viral, leaving Kirk in the middle of a tempest over which he could hardly keep some admirers under control. Praised him for his bravery in speaking the truth, while others accused him of lying to protect his own reputation. As Kirk's revelations grew more divisive, the audience began to turn against him. Former show stars who had long ago moved on were abruptly pulled back into the drama, despite not having asked to be in the spotlight. Bloggers contacted them for opinions, and some said yes. An unidentified former cast member acknowledged that they had been under pressure from producers to pretend to be dating another co-star, saying, "They told me to act like we were dating." This showed that Kirk wasn't lying. Although we had hardly spoken previously, I initially believed it to be innocuous. But as more people came forward and the storyline veered away from Kirk's personal life, it became so foamy that by the time the season aired, people believed we were in love. Former staff members started sharing their personal stories in response to complaints over a wider expose of the show's production techniques, which accused the producers of controlling the plots and the performers through pressure and manipulation. One editor explained how they were once given raw footage in order to make it look like a certain situation in order to create tension, or how they were urged to keep filming until they caught something explosive. Kirk also pointed out how producers took advantage of the actors, similar to how she cheated. The editor said that I had to delete and rearrange sequences till they fit the plot they desired, regardless of what actually happened. He claimed that they preyed on those who were experiencing financial or emotional difficulties because they knew that they would be more receptive to ludicrous demands. Kirk acknowledged that early in his romantic and hip-hop journey as the years passed, he came to understand that the cost of fame on the show was greater than he had ever thought. He stated that they don't just want you to be yourself, but they also want you to be a figure they can control, and that control went beyond the set. Kirk disclosed how the production crew kept an eye on the cast members' social media accounts and occasionally managed them, curating postings to make sure they were in line with in keeping with the show's plot. Cast members were under pressure to remove anything they posted that didn't suit the current plot. Kirk even implied that some of the scandals that surfaced online during the season were planted by the show's public relations staff to create buzz. They made up leaks, and Kirk said they wanted viewers to believe they were seeing the real drama. But it was all part of the plan as more, while love and hip-hop producers kept mute, the industry began to pay attention as information surfaced. Entertainment blogs, celebrity gossip websites, and even mainstream news agencies started to cover Kirk's revelations. Fans weren't buying the network's evasive explanation that they uphold the integrity of their content. The outcry went beyond Kirk's personal experience, and people began to doubt the veracity of despite what he called veiled threats from industry insiders. Kirk stayed defiant and continued to speak, leaving other reality shows wondering if many of their favorite moments were truly made up. "I'm wary of living a lie. I'd rather reveal the truth and face the penalties than continue to pretend." Kirk acknowledged in one of his videos that "I knew I would be blacklisted," and the implications were accumulating already. Kirk's appearances on other reality shows were abruptly canceled. His lifelong industry buddies stopped answering his phone, and there were reports that the network was thinking of suing him. But although the pressure was increasing, Kirk's largest supporters and a few former cast members encouraged him to keep going, saying, "Don't let them silence you." One supporter tweeted, "You're the only one brave enough to speak out." Appear committed to completing his goal, hinting at even more significant revelations to come. He claimed to have proof that may fundamentally alter our perception of reality TV, and as the weeks passed, his follower count increased. The issue of how far Kirk would go and what the eventual fallout would be remained, even after his videos received millions of views and his social media messages received thousands of likes and shares. Would his revelations actually bring about change, or would the stakes had never been higher for Kirk when the next scandal grabbed center stage? He wasn't only battling for his own reputation, he was also taking on an entire industry that had long prospered on deceit. Regardless of this victory or defeat, it was certain that the entertainment industry would never be the same as Kirk Frost's revelations about love and hip-hop started to spill forth. By this point, Kirk's avalanche of proof had not only left social media bursting with outrage, but mainstream outlets were also picking up the story and delving deeper into his assertions. Even industry insiders and world fans couldn't ignore it. Although the battle was far from over, Kirk garnered a new surge of supporters as new programs addressed the dark side of reality TV and discussed whether series like Love and Hip Hop had gone too far in their quest for ratings. Viewers and supporters applauded him for speaking out at last and revealing the truth, but he also had to deal with a hostile industry that looked to be closing doors almost immediately. His calls to former coworkers also appeared to be declining. Unanswered, his planned appearances on other shows were abruptly rescheduled, and old business associates discreetly withdrew, sending the message that Kirk was no longer wanted in the reality TV industry. Was yet another scandal, but Kirk remained unflinching in interviews and online posts, describing in detail what it was like to work under the continual control of producers who dominated every part of his on-screen existence. Discussed the emotional toll it took on him, his family, relationships, and even his mental health over the years. The producers had made him into a cartoon character, the perpetual villain, the unfaithful spouse, and despite one of the most unexpected turns occurred when other cast members, both past and present, admitted their mistakes. Kirk claimed that the producers had exaggerated his shortcomings and created settings that made him appear much worse than he actually was. Those in attendance started to speak up, while others who were devoted to the brand came forward to support Kirk's allegations. One former cast member disclosed that she had been told to create fights with another star on the "to give us a reason to quarrel on camera." The producers advised me to say things like, "I never hated her, and I didn't even know her." Another cast member acknowledged that his alleged affair was a made-up plot point. The show's creators found it increasingly difficult to reject Kirk's charges as unfounded as these confessions mounted. Naturally, the network stayed silent, providing only evasive explanations regarding their dedication to providing high-quality entertainment. But long-lasting change in an industry that had for too long, even though Kirk had been working in the background, not everyone supported him. Some former cast members accused him of being hypocritical, pointing out that he had profited from the same system that he was now denouncing, while others questioned his intentions, speculating that his candid campaign was merely a means of maintaining his public profile. These charges followed Kirk everywhere he went, but he appeared resolute in his resolve to weather the storm, insisting that his objective was never. As they were just starting to settle in, Kirk's life appeared drastically different. It was about bringing attention to the negative aspects of reality TV and ensuring that future contestants wouldn't have to go through what he and Rashida had. His career in reality TV was ended, and the man fans had grown to know on Love and Hip Hop had no plans to rejoin the fold. Instead, he welcomed his new role as a vocal critic of the business, someone who had Kirk Frost's decision to speak up change the course of reality television, hip hop, and love forever. There was nothing left to lose and everything to gain by pushing for responsibility and openness. Although the business was unable to ignore his allegations and viewers were unable to unlearn the truths he had disclosed, Kirk's story undoubtedly signaled a shift in the direction of actual transformation. The public would never watch their favorite shows in the same manner after reality and fiction were revealed. That's the narrative behind the story, the truth behind the Agar. But what do you think of Kirk's revelations? Alter your perspective on Love and Hip Hop. Are these reality programs simply too far gone? Or is there still room for them to be more truthful with their audience? Please share your ideas in the comment section below and let us know where you think people are going. You stand, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button and enable notifications if you want more mind-blowing revelations of hidden secrets and suspenseful stories. I promise you, until then, keep asking, keeping an eye on, and continuing to communicate. I hope to see you in the next one.